Do you know what? In the car on the way back, after I said that I could do it, I was thinking of a way to kind of like subtly add in or like subtly get the timing right so that I could do kind of like a hello and welcome. And even to the point where I was going to say like whatever we were talking about at the time, like interrupt and be like, one of the things I don't get is weird is when podcasts don't do a like an introduction. They just go straight into it.
Between you and Ali, you know.
I'm kind of glad that that we managed to
that we went from three pudding Steve straight into just zero conversation.
Yeah, exactly. It was great. But yeah, because I do find it weird that you guys don't do like the whole introduction. Like
we're just not.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's just as a like host in, and I don't mean like podcast host. I just mean like in my personal life. I always play the host. I'm always like, right, this is so and so. This is there. Can I get you a drink? Can I do this? I just find it weird to not do that because like there's people in the audience that might not know who people are.
The way we see it is they've whoever's, I mean, other than tonight, because you guys are last minute.
I've also just realized how arrogant I am because you've all got surnames and I've just put Steve. And
yeah, but most people in the maiden community know
Steve
is just
Steve.
Yeah.
Plus, you've very much been on before.
I have, yes.
I
mean, to be fair, I'm pretty sure you and Andy have been on once or twice as well.
Yeah, but we don't need to change ours every time.
This is our show.
And this is
I don't bother to change it. Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
You've been on nearly as many times as me.
Well, one of the times I was a fake Jamie, so I don't know if that counts.
Yeah,
I was impersonating, but yeah,
Faney.
Faney, yeah.
We're going to have to do a Jake Famey episode now.
Sure, it can be arranged.
But I completely forgot what we were talking about. Oh, the introductions and stuff. We figured that usually most people have like seen the title of the show with the person's name in it, so they're aware of who the person calls themselves, and then the rest of it is just a case of finding out who the person is. So, you know, it's just Department of Redundancies department, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's the equivalent of meeting people in the pub, isn't it?
But I suppose,
yeah.
I suppose, like for me, it's especially if there's multiple guests on, it's that whole thing of like, well, whose voice? Like, because I'm a audio listener, not a visual listener. It's that whole thing of like, well, whose voice is whose? Especially considering I still get people messaging me being like, I don't know which one is you and which one is Al, because all you British guys sound the same. No, we don't. I can talk. Well, oh no.
Can you though?
When I talk, I don't have a horrible, ridiculous accent, and when Al talks, he has
a horrible, ridiculous accent.
Yeah, exactly.
But slightly more northern.
Yeah. I keep.
Well, keep going, Steve, because I know you want to do it. Go on, do the thing.
No, because I keep going. But yeah. Back to the topic, and then realizing that A, we don't have a topic, and B, it's not my fucking podcast.
Yeah, you and I can just sit silent, Stephen. It's on these two to make it interesting. I mean, that's how it works, isn't it?
The topic if you like. Yeah, we have to give it some bit of a thought, maybe, but the topic if you like. Yeah.
No, I'm quite happy just talking.
Brexit,
it's just no
tomatoes,
no
topics. And the
chocolate
bars.
What was the chocolate? I'm sure there was a chocolate bar with peanuts in it.
You're thinking of Picnic?
Hazelnut. The what?
Yeah, Picnic bar.
Ah,
yeah.
Been a while.
Yeah.
Good chocolate bar.
Oh, saying that, do you want to see what Jimmy brought back? Jamie, I know you won't be interested in this, but Jimmy brought me back from Sweden, which is this. I don't know if you can see.
It looks like a plastic packet with something black in it.
Like a bear at the top. That bear meat.
Some kind of jerky.
Bear jerky.
Yeah, it's bear jerky, which
wow.
I'm intrigued.
I'm not gonna.
Yes, I am gonna eat some bear sausage. Stop it. And I'm very
How
excited.
do you jerk a bear? Yeah.
Fucking hell. So anyway, moving on. This week's topic.
Generally, Andy eats carefully. Or with his consent.
From distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
What was the topic for tonight, Steve?
I don't know. I've definitely had too much sugar.
See, I actually like the fact that Fools and Tools, 2/3 focus, they always have a topic. Occasionally interspersed with guests, but there's a topic. I do quite like that. I think it's obviously shows a level of preparation that we don't do.
I was going to say, I particularly like the ones where they announce a topic and then never mention it again.
Yeah. That's basically every episode of Fools and Tools.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like it's just a start for 10, and it's something to refer back to when you get that little bit of that lull in the conversation. It's for someone like me that doesn't like those awkward silences. It's really easy to kind of just go, yeah. So anyway, back to the topic. I was thinking about this, blah 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 blah. Rather than just kind of going like, what else can we talk about? Because if I don't have a
topic,
if I don't have a path to stick to, my brain just stops. Like I might be able to go off and meander off in random tangents that are nothing to do with the topic, but I need that. It's much the same as when I'm making something. If I go into a fully equipped workshop. And you can see I can always link it back.
So that
if I go to a fully equipped workshop and it's like and someone just says make something, I'm going to go.
Yeah. It's being overwhelmed with choice, isn't it? You're a very intelligent person with a hell of a lot of things that you can talk about. Yeah, I mean you, Steve. Don't worry.
No.
Not Merv. But when you get that point of a lulling conversation, it's then your choice to decide the next path that you go on. If you haven't got a limitation there to guide you, you then there's equal weight on all topics available to you.
Exactly.
So to try and start something else, like you say, if it's like a blank canvas, you almost need a rip in the top corner to make up, or something like that. You need that thing to give you that kind of spark of inspiration. If we wind you up and set you going, you'll chat about all sorts of things and random tangents for hours.
It's one of those things. Like I need constraints. I very rarely stick to those constraints, but I need those constraints to make a start. Like I need to go like, right, I'm going to make this thing only using this material, and it's a material that's not normally made with, or I'm going to do it in this way, or I'm going to make a whatever. Like I need that starter for 10, and then I can just roll with it. But
Oasis.
But it's that kind of that's
going to be
idea. Yeah, spoiled by choice or spoiled with choice.
Yeah.
If you've got limitations, often feed creativity. If you've got just something like parking in a supermarket. If I go to a supermarket and I'm the first car there, it's like, where the hell am I going to park? If there's, it doesn't matter. It could be 3 or 4 other cars, but if there's mostly empty space, it's like I'll end up over a line. And I'll kind of go, oh, should I park there? Or should I park there? And if I've actually got kind of, oh look, there's 3 empty gaps there between 2 cars. Yep, right, that's easy. Go for the center.
I mean, that's the Gentile problem, isn't it?
I was just about to say the same.
But so I find that really interesting, the way you're saying that you need that restriction, because what I find is I can use that as an excuse to not get started, because I have in my head I want to make this thing, but I can't because of budget, materials, workshop, whatever the reason is. If I can get past the going and getting started despite that, I'll really enjoy doing it within the constraints. But I have to find a way to motivate myself to go, okay, it's not going to be the way I picture it, but let's go get started and see where I end up. There's something perfectionist in, if I can't do that, I'm not going to start. That I have to actively force myself into actually cracking on with it. And it's why I've got projects that, like, you know, I've got things I designed like 4 years ago sat on the computer that I've not started. So and it's like, just get on with it.
Interestingly enough, I shouldn't be on this podcast tonight. I should be editing the Fools of Tools episode. That is the second part of inspiration and motivation. And we talk a lot about motivation and about how to get motivated and how motivation and inspiration do not necessarily come hand in hand. And it's funny you say that, because whilst yes, I need constraints to kind of get my brain going, basically. Like I say, I'll quite often go off on a different tangent, but if I'm given options, I'm just at a standstill. But even with those constraints, I 100% will be like, no, I can't do it because I don't have this one specific thing that I don't really need, but I think I need, so I can't do it. And I've been struggling with that for the last like 3 or 4 months. In fact, even longer than that, with a bunch of projects where I've had to overcome my own brain before I can do something, even though these things aren't necessarily an issue. And as soon as I've started the ball rolling, then all those other issues I've managed to find a workaround. But it's that first initial like little hump that's been the problem.
And for me, motivation comes once I can start seeing something going together.
Yeah.
So motivation is a product of starting to see results rather than the thing that gets me going. So it's that if I can kick my backside into gear and get actually started, I'm away. But just that. Yeah.
Well, so here's the follow-on question from that then, because this might kind of link to something I read recently. But if someone asks you to make something, you know, and says, "Look, here, can you make this thing?"
Yeah.
Is that achievable, or is that more achievable when you're like replicating something, whether it's a drawing of a thing or here's a thing I would like you to make? Can you make that?
So I've had this conversation with someone very recently, and it might have actually been you, but I don't think it was. The way that you're looking at me, I don't think we've had this conversation. So
how many?
Oh no, I know who it was. But yeah, I massively struggle with that. If it's making something for myself because I want to make a thing, or I want to try this technique, or I want to try that material, I won't do it. I'm very, 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 very bad at doing things for me. But if a friend phones me up and was like 3 a.m. and says, "Steve, I've got a show in 6 hours and I need this thing doing for it. Can you do it?" Then like, fuck yeah, okay. Let me get up, make a coffee. I'll go down the workshop now and I'll do it. And I will find a way of making that happen for someone else. But for myself, I'm really bad. And because the conversation came about, and the other person kind of went, "Well, what about if I just phoned you up and was like, oh, can you make a thing for me?" But no, like the thing being something they knew that I wanted to make for myself. And I was like, no, because I'll know that you're only doing it to try and motivate me to make it for myself. So I just won't do it. Like that's not how it works, because my brain is dumb.
So what we need is a third person in the loop to gift it back to you.
No, because
if I say, "Steve, can you make this thing for Neil?" and then Neil just rings you up and goes, "Steve, I've got this thing for you."
No, because I'll know, and it will only work once, and that'll be it. But no, I think for me as well, it's about urgency as well. Like if there's no urgency to do something, and I think that might be part of why having a topic or a subject to kind of stick to is a good thing for me, because it's that question of like, well, have we discussed that thing enough? Have we made enough points on that? Have we covered this aspect of the topic? Which is ridiculous, because literally every single time we have that conversation on, or a conversation on Fools with Tools where we're discussing a topic, it's for about 3 or 4 days afterwards, where it's that whole thing of like arguing with someone in the shower, like I just get the best comeback. So and I
put them in the shower with you. Really diffuses it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I really struggle with it, and I think like the kind of idea of having topics and subjects I really like, but like I say, it's one of those like I almost want to revisit it after 3 days sort of thing. Like, let's have the discussion, let's have another one in like 3 or 4 days where I can go, all those things I said were wrong, and
another thing.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Oh, that's such a good kind of like Patreon exclusive, and just call it "and another thing," and it just be like 4 days afterwards, just recording, be like, actually, I was thinking about it, and you were right, or I was wrong.
Well, yes, that is a fantastic idea, Steve. The reality of you trying to do that on your Patreon would be absolute hilarity.
I meant for the Fools with Tools one because it's with 2 other people, so I will actually do it. Whereas my Patreon is...
No, I was thinking more along the lines of the fact that by the time you've finished recording, everything that was said over the last hour has just disappeared from your head.
Oh yeah. The amount of times people have asked me about stuff that I've said either in a ramble or on Patreon, on the podcast or anything, and I'm just like, what? I didn't say that.
Did I?
No, I definitely didn't say that. So, yes, you did. Here's evidence. Oh,
well, I didn't mean that.
Yeah, that's not what. No. Yeah. It's very.
I know what you mean. I got contacted by a researcher for a TV program a little while ago. They said, I really liked your shepherd's hut you built. And I'm like, I've never built a shepherd's hut. Thinking shepherd's hut, big thing, goes in the garden, wheels, goes down a truck or something if you want to move it. Like, I never made a shepherd's hut. And then they kind of replied back, through by email, replied back and said, this one. Listed in the video I made where I made a little shepherd's hut. Just like, oh, that one.
Obviously. But no, I mean, I think it's quite well known by now that my memory is awful. But like with the, especially with the topics and stuff.
External storage now.
Yeah, Jamie. But like with conversation stuff, I think because it like you say with the whole argument thing, like it mulls over in your head and you can keep thinking those things. But I would have to write them down or voice note them as and when the thoughts come to me. Otherwise, I would never remember it unless I was having that conversation organically again at a later date. Because I couldn't just sit down and go, right, here are all the things that I thought that I didn't say at the time, because my brain would just go blank.
Yeah, here's why we were both wrong the other day.
Yeah, but I keep fidgeting because I've just got a cramp in my leg and it's really painful.
Drink more water, Steve.
I've drunk loads of water.
Okay, here's a question. How do you guys on Full of Tools come up with your topics?
There's one of 3 ways. So either I'll be thinking about something during the week and go, oh, that's a really good idea, and jot it down. And then
can I guess the next 2? Or Al thinks of something during the week.
No.
And then Brett
no. So I'll think of something during the week and I'll jot it down and then forget it. Or I'll think of something during the week, won't jot it down, and then it's completely gone. But if I think of something, I jot it down, and then normally we don't talk about it for like 3 weeks because I keep forgetting that I've written the thing down. Or Brett will come up with an idea and it'll be a really good idea. And I'll just go, I don't want to talk about that this week. And then we'll be like, okay, we'll talk about that next week then. Because for some reason, every time Brett comes up with a topic, well, I say every time, over the last like couple of months, every time Brett's come up with a topic, I've just gone, and I feel really bad because I realized the other day that I'd done it like 3 times in a row. I was like, oh, dude, I do want to do your topics, I promise. But it's just, Yeah. And again, it'll be one of those things where it's just a bit of inspiration has come to him through the week. So when me and Brett come up with topics, it is very much like, I've been listening to a podcast, or I've seen this, or we've had this experience and gone like, actually, yeah, let's talk about that. Or me and Brett haven't come up with a topic through the week, and we both go, Al, what do you want to talk about? And Al goes, oh, for fuck's sakes. Yeah. I just looks angry for 5 seconds and then goes, right, this thing. Cool. Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah. And then we spend about 3 seconds on the topic where I've done a segue into it. And then we just talk about something else instead. Normally food and movies. I love food. Sorry.
What's your favorite movie about food?
Chef. With John Favreau.
Yes, John Favreau.
Great film.
Brilliant film. Fantastic soundtrack as well. Oh, speaking of which, things that have really good soundtracks, Kipo and the Age of the Wonder Beasts, which
yes, it's amazing.
Yes, I think I've recommended on Fools with Tools before, but yeah, if you've never watched Kipo and the Age of the Wonder Beasts, it is.
Did I get you into that, or did you get me into that?
I got you into it. It's on Netflix. It's a 2-season, maybe 3-season cartoon. I think it's anyway. Yeah, really, really good cartoon. Really good. Really enjoyable, really bright, vibrant. Lots of quite wholesome things in it, but also really funny. And the sound design to the entire thing is just phenomenal. And the other one is it's kind of a two-parter. So we talk about Letterkenny a lot on the podcast, or make Letterkenny references on the podcast, which is really good. And there's a spin-off series from that called Shoresy, which is about one of the side characters in Letterkenny.
Is it about Shoresy by any chance?
It is about Shoresy. And it's very hockey focused, ice hockey focused. And I've watched it twice, as in the whole series twice through, because it's only 6 episodes. Twice through in the last.
How did you show 6 with one hand then, Steve?
Because I moved it
about. Okay. Something about Dorset we don't know about.
Yeah.
Atelier. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a 6-episode season, and I've watched it twice in the last 4 days. And both Letterkenny and Shoresy have really, really good soundtracks. It's all really obscure, weird, fucking good music. And one of my favorite bits of TV in recent years was the final period of the final hockey match in Shoresy. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but obviously with hockey and with this show in particular, there are a lot of quite violent acts, I guess. It's a very, very aggressive sport.
It's a fight with a sport in the middle, isn't it?
Basically, yeah. It's like boxing, but more violent, and online. But yeah, so there's quite a lot of fighting going on, and it's a bunch of slow motion cutscenes of these really people just railing with each other. Plus, a few shots of the surroundings and what's going on in that. But the music over the top, rather than being some really energetic kind of dance track or something something to get you fired up. It's really nice, just one guy in his guitar singing a love song, and it's so perfect, and it works so well. And yeah, I really appreciate it when films and TV shows have really good music and really good sound design, and bringing that back to the maker community. That's why Laura is. See, it's always coming back. That's why I really love Laura's videos, because
someone said about 30 minutes ago that they had nothing prepped and nothing that they could talk about as their attention grabbers for this week.
What?
we just flipped the podcast around with
had,
sort of introductions
and 3.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I can't use Shoresy because I might be spiffing it this week. But yeah, like that's why when I first started watching maker videos, that's why Laura's videos always stuck out to me, was because there was always really good music. And like Seb, what's Seb's channel called?
Oh, you asked.
Yeah,
no, that's not his channel.
Like
Alaris?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. He's got two, Alaria's and Alaria's Garage.
That's it, yes. But yeah, because like when he started using the bird sounds and the animal sounds in place of the power tools, like, that was so fucking good. And like, I think especially from doing a bit of editing as well, and like especially with the Forge stuff, where I was working with not great sound anyway, but having to try and cut things together based on the beats of the hammer and the beats of the sound, like it's one of those things that I've started to kind of notice more and pick out. And so I think now, like, I really appreciate that, and I think it's something that does get kind of forgotten about in a lot of people's videos and things like that, is the sound design. And it's not so bad, but like when a lot of people will just cut the sound out completely, or they'll it's all sped up, so you get the high pitched squeaky stuff, and that's a lot easier to edit around. But it's one of those things, like when someone does sound design well, you kind of don't notice it unless you're looking for it. But when it's done badly, it's kind of jarring. But when they do it really well, like good enough that you notice it, that's when you kind of go like,
that's when you don't notice anything else around you.
Yeah. It's brilliant. And
there's a YouTuber called Jonna Jensen. I think she's Swedish. She's like millions of followers and stuff.
Yeah.
But she composes all of the music for her YouTube channel.
Oh,
so
nice.
every video she just sits and plays behind it and stuff, but it means the music is always like perfect to it and
That's
whatever.
Awesome.
And I could swear it's one of the reasons why her channel is as successful as it is, because the music just fits, and there's not the track's only 3 minutes 30 and this bit's 4 minutes, and how do we deal? It's just played to that, and it's makes such a difference.
I wonder if they edit the video and then record the music, or if they record the music and edit, because excuse me, a lot of people, when they use music, they'll edit to the music, so they try and like hit those beats perfectly.
From what I saw on her kind of behind the scenes thing that she did, she edits the video and then she literally just sits there and plays live to it.
That's awesome.
And then builds out. So just sits with keys and plays along. So she is playing to the thing, but I suspect she's editing to a certain tempo or something like that, so that the music does land.
Yeah,
but I
was gonna say, I wonder whether it's kind of like a combination of the two. Like, does almost like a rough cut does the music, and then any that need to be moved like a second or two, sort of look like that.
Just nudge it. Yeah.
Sorry, I am paying attention, but I'm also.
It takes a lot of skill. I mean, that's just.
Yeah.
I think most people, it's beyond most people that make videos. I think that kind of sort of thing.
Yeah. I think because it's that combination talent of being both I'm assuming these are maker videos?
No, not particularly. They do run a jewelry business, her and her husband, but a lot of it's just kind of life vlog. They live rural Sweden, kind of middle of nowhere. It's all big cinematic shots of snow.
Snow and trees.
Snow trees. There's some lakes.
Yeah. I was gonna say, because it takes a huge amount of skill to kind of do videography and editing as well, like especially if it's like beautiful shots like that takes a lot of skill, and then to combine that with the added talent of being musically inclined, like that's impressive, especially not just like I can hear a song and then play it again, but actually being able to compose, especially on the spot like that, like that's huge. So that's massively impressive.
It's that context awareness, isn't it? The fitting the right music to the scene rather than going, yeah, I'm going to make a thing and then hope it works, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But then I guess like the guys, Steve, you've mentioned Mighty Car Mods before, haven't you?
Yes. Well,
fair enough. Yeah. Moog does all the music for that, and again, they just do their own music for the channel and stuff. It's
yeah.
I like it when there's a Venn diagram of skills that come together like that. It's quite nice where it's
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things. I wish I had the I guess it's the patience to be able to learn music. I can't. It's not even patience. It's the attention span. I guess.
I think there's something about, because a lot of my family are very musical, and it's just it just hasn't landed with me at all.
Yeah.
But the way my brain tends to work is quite a bit different to the way theirs does as well. So I think there's something in those very musical people, especially people who compose as well, to be able to just get kind of lost in all of that. Whereas I seem to, when I've tried to do music stuff in the past, I've always sort of stayed tethered to something else. You know, there's that kind of like foot in tech reality or something like that. That's kind of, I've not kind of fully immersed myself in it in the way that they, will be.
It's a weird one though as well. Although I don't like the idea of like, oh, you can do it or you can't, but it does seem like with some people it just it's so natural and second nature. And for me, like I've tried a few times, but what excuse me, what I found is, because I did it when I was in primary school, and I had I played the French horn, and I was actually like relatively okay at it, but I couldn't read music. And because I couldn't read music, my teacher kept giving me sheet music and saying, learn this. And then I'd go back in and be like, I can't, because I don't know what this means. And he just got really shitty with me. Never taught me to read music, just went with just play the notes sort of thing. And I just, but I tried to learn a few years ago, and I needed to understand how the notes were constructed and like why it was 8 and why you do that and then it goes up and all this, and why you do it like this and why you do it like that. And I kind of needed to know how everything was built before I was able to start trying to build my own sort of thing. And it was quite good, because the guy that was trying to teach me was just like, just play the scales. I'm like, but I don't understand how the scales work. I need to understand how they work. Then I can try doing them.
It's maths, it's frequencies.
Yeah.
There's all of different ways of kind of seeing it and viewing it. But...
yeah. And I find it super interesting. I'm like, this is really cool. I want to know more about this. I'm like, but that's not going to help you play. Just play the thing. I'm like, but I don't want to. I want to learn the thing first. But yeah, I'm bad at life. What were we talking about? I'm sure there was a point that we got onto.
Yeah, don't you remember the topic from the start?
Oh,
I think you got a point there about things like the music, though. I mean, there's an argument from kind of the music teachers and the music teachers world that all young people and young primary age people should be taught an instrument in order, and potentially even a variety of instruments.
Yeah.
And there is some research evidence that suggests that actually learning music from a young age and practicing it through into kind of sort of teenage years is very beneficial for other subjects and and kind of overall learning. And similarly, languages. I think language is probably a good example. Most of, certainly in England, Wales primary schools are now bilingual and have been for 30 years. But in England, very few primary schools, although there is a national curriculum that says modern foreign languages. It's normally done kind of a half day somewhere, or a day. There are some schools that do kind of go, we've got somebody who is able to teach French, and so all the kids will learn some French across the year, or German or Spanish or Mandarin. It doesn't really matter, but actually, kind of certainly in other countries where there's the ability to kind of do the research, where young people are learning another language, the benefits from for their future learning abilities is huge. And the ability to actually pick up a second or even third language in those early years is huge. And you try and do it when you're an adult, you can Duolingo all day, but you're going to struggle compared to if you try and do it when you're kind of seven.
I have issues with Duolingo. The mails you get when you don't do it are sarcastic and aggressive.
That was one of the things that I got distracted with earlier on, is the fact that I've just got an email from Duolingo being like, "Why aren't you learning German?" Because I haven't got time. Leave me alone.
You're failing. You're failing at life.
Yeah. Street freeze.
But yeah, when I was in primary school, they literally just started introducing learning French in my primary school whilst I was still there. I think it was year 5. And it was great. Like at the time, it was school I didn't particularly enjoy or dislike anything. But learning French then, I'm so glad now that I did, because it's given me that base knowledge that even now, when I'm when I'm like, if I know I'm going back over to France or whatever, and I'm like, right, I need to brush up on my French. That's all I have to do. I have to brush up on it, because the knowledge is there. It's still locked inside. So I can be reminded of a few things. Like, oh yeah, okay, I can start doing this again. And like it's there. I mean, we did music as well. Like everyone in my school learnt recorder, and we did it as a group session, which it was good in terms of time saving. I don't think it's, I mean, obviously the smaller the class size, the better for learning, but it was good. And I kind of wish I kept on with it. It was only a recorder, but the fucking Mandalorian theme was done with a. Have you seen that recorder? That thing is ridiculous. It's
bass recorder.
There's we've got not me, but in our house we've got, I think we've got probably close to a dozen recorders, and they're all different.
Really,
and quite small to some that are kind of quite the girth.
That's such a good word to use.
So on the language thing,
yes,
Emma, my wife, spent most of her growing up in the Algarve, so she's fluent in Portuguese and quite comfortable. And when we were first dating before we got married, we went over to Portugal so that she could like show me where she grew up and stuff like that. And I basically did the proper British tourist thing and basically let her do all the speaking for most of the week. And I was getting to the end of the week
slowly.
Well, no, I was getting to the end of the week and I was like, I cannot be this guy. I cannot just sit there and expect everybody to speak English to me and rely on Emma to translate at another point. So I got Emma to teach me our order for the coffee shop, and I practiced it. Summoned up the courage. Last day, it was like, right, you wait here. I'm going to go in and order for us. And I'm like, right, big moment. Let's get this right. Go in, best Portuguese order. The woman behind the bar is a Geordie expat. And speaking English. I'm like, what was that? Like psyched myself up.
Brilliant.
In like 10 minutes to go in and do this. So she's from Newcastle.
See, because I can remember I went to Rome with an old partner, and we had a really nice time. I think we spent 4 days there, like 3 nights, and every night we went to the same restaurant, just because it was just down the road from the hotel, and it was just it was easy and it was comfortable. Like we knew roughly what we could get away with there.
But the egg and chips was great.
No, this is back when I could eat gluten and
the English pub.
Pizza.
It was just basically it was really good Italian food, and it was kind of a local joint as well. I think that's kind of why we stuck to it, because it wasn't a huge tourist. It was like a little family run restaurant. And it was good because I got in like the first day. It was very much kind of pointing to me like, what one of these for me?
What no?
Yeah. And on the second, like, because the first night obviously we landed and we just went straight down there, and But the second night, I had attempted to learn a little bit of Italian whilst we were there, and yeah, my pronunciation was way off. But because I'd made the effort to try speaking a little bit, I had such a better interaction with the people that worked that night.
Yeah.
And I think, like you say, when you learn other languages, it like Andy said, it helps you learn a third language or a fourth language or whatever. And because you start understanding how to make the other sounds, like, because there's so many sounds in different languages that we just don't use in English. And it's kind of like with crafts, in that you have so you always link back round. It's great. It's almost like a segue. But yeah, with crafts, because you have those transferable skills, and you have transferable sounds and noises and all of that. And yeah, that's why I think like it's really good to do the whole like jack of all trades sort of thing, because it means that you are then able to pick up other things. Like I've seen some people that are absolute masters at their own craft, but could not do anything other than that one very specific task that they're designed to do. Like guys,
I see that at work with folks who are super highly qualified, super experienced engineers who've spent the last 30 years doing engineering on computers and things, and then will suddenly, an error message will come up on screen, and they go, and then they'll ring me up and go, can you have a look at my machine? It's doing something. And I'll remote into the machine, read the message, and it'll say press OK to continue. It's things like that that'll be. It's just it's so then outside of it's so outside of their wheelhouse that they've just kind of they don't have the transferable skills out of that then.
So saying that about technology, I had a really interesting thing yesterday, sometime in the last 36 hours, which was about the fact that the millennials are the most technological generation, because Gen Z don't really have to use the file system. They don't have to go about things in the same way that we did. Like everything's just a link, or they just click the icon rather than having
and stuff like that.
Just works.
Rather than having to go into and fix and move things around and go into the file system. They just don't have to do that. Like that's not a thing that they've ever had to get involved with. So even though they're learning like code basics and code kind of concepts in primary and secondary school, they're not really like hacking about with stuff in the same way that we used to.
The other thing they've not had to do is explain it to their parents. You learn by teaching somebody something.
I can't pause an online game.
Yeah, there's a large element to which I suspect trying to teach my parents where files are stored on their laptop, how to get to them, how to set up the Wi-Fi, probably taught me a lot about it. They all need to all go and teach their grandparents how the cloud works.
Well, so this is exactly what I was going to get to. I think it was maybe Ed Byrne, or there was a comedian talking about this. It might have even been Dave Gorman. But they're talking about how, in fact, it was Dave Gorman when he was doing a stand-up show, and he's saying about how his parents now text with text-speak. And they do that because they've now been taught by the next generation.
Yeah.
So we grew up with, we were around, but we were at the right age when phones came in to have, kind of started using text, but to have at least learned how to speak properly first in things like emails and school. So we will tend to text in like real language, none of the text speak. We will use 3 letters where we mean you, that kind of thing. So we'll spell the words out, we'll put punctuation in, and that's how the messages will get across. But then our kids who use text speak, that was what was quicker and easier for them, are the ones who are teaching their grandparents to now use the phones, because the grandparents want to keep in touch with the grandkids. So they've learned the technology by being shown text speak. So he was saying he was stuck in this middle ground where everyone younger than him is using text speak and everyone older than him is now using text speak, and he's in this chunk of generation where
I find that weird because I was gonna say because like I text back and forth with my nieces and nephews quite a lot, and none of them have ever really used too much text speak. Like maybe the occasional "you" instead of "you," but like in my experience, at least, text speak was kind of a short-lived thing because it was just when we were being charged per character or per thing. Like obviously in like on Twitter and stuff like that, it still gets used, but
it was the 10p a text message and you couldn't link on to the next message automatically.
And it was the having to press the button 3 times to get the letter.
Yeah. I was just about to say that. Yeah,
factored into that as well. But no, I mean it's probably just my family. But the older generation of my family, they might as well start with the address at the top right, to whom it may concern. It's very formal all the time.
Teaching my dad how to use how to like be able to react to messages on WhatsApp was brilliant because he was just like, I don't understand. Then spent like a solid week just reacting to every message, and now just doesn't ever react to anything ever again.
My mum's recently discovered emojis on WhatsApp. So all messages between me and my mum are 3 words and then 15 emojis.
Yeah. My mum, bless her, on Facebook Messenger, she's got like there's a particular like they got the stickers on there where it's like it's an emoji plus basically, and there's a particular one that's like I think it's a corgi, and just every time I message her, I always end up with a corgi like hugging a like love heart or something like that. I'm like thanks mum, or like a corgi that's back laughing like fucking nightmare. But yeah, I suppose it's kind of like using a CNC as opposed to a handsaw. I couldn't resist that. Purely for the lols.
So at least Andy can rename this episode the episode that Steve re-segues all segues.
But
the segue special,
it's just on topic.
It's kind of
circular segues.
Yeah,
it's some kind of brand deal with Segway, the company.
I fucking love a Segway. I would never use them. I'd love to own one, but one of the like the off-road ones.
But I mean, you'd need it around your way anyway. But
yeah, but like, did you ever? There was blah, blah, blah. There was some guys that were running a like an off-road Segway paintball arena. It just looked amazing. Like so dangerous, but so much fun.
There's a place up near Aviemore that does tank paintballing, and they've got these old tanks that you can.
Yeah, there's a place around here that does it, and I really want it. But I definitely just.
There's a place at the bottom end of the M6, kind of junction 2, junction 3, kind of neck of the woods, that used to have a Stargate set up. So they had all the hay bales and stuff, and they do paintballing and airsoft, but they had this big full-size Stargate straight in the middle.
What? I want to go there.
Podpad Studios made that, I think.
Did they?
If I remember rightly, yeah.
Yeah.
They've got video about it.
Epic.
Yeah, mate.
You could see it from the side of the motorway every time I drive past. I was like, I want to go there.
I'm trying to think, like, because I don't so much anymore, but I used to go up and down the motorways quite a lot. And I'm trying to think, like, if there was anything in particular that I went past, I'd always be like, I want to go there. I mean, obviously, Gloucester Services, but
of course.
Yeah, obviously. But then, what is it? I think it's Telford Services, and they've got a massive steam hammer in like the services car park. Yeah. And I remember the first time I went in there and saw it, it was just like, and then obviously learnt that there was a lot of steel making down there. But then there's one.
It's really weird though with the motorways and the service stations, isn't it? Because it, like, for me, I pass a shitload of service stations if I'm going to see the family, because it's basically 20 exits on the M6.
Yeah.
So there's what 8 or 10 service stations at least, something like that. It's pretty much every other exit. But there's set ones that I tend to go to.
Yeah.
And obviously, if I'm doing a Bristol run, it has to be Gloucester services. Like nobody goes to Michael Wood services unless something bad has happened.
See, because I used to live in Walsall, and we used to drive down quite regularly, and Michael Woods was always the one that we went to. Like, so I've got there's a special place in my heart for Michael Wood services because it was the last stop on the way to Walsall, and now that Gloucester's there, why
would you go anywhere else?
Yeah, exactly. Although there is a little bit of me that kind of just occasionally will just stop into Michael Woods just to show it a little bit of love, just let it know that I'm
nostalgia.
Still there. Yeah, exactly. Just go and grab a coffee and then drive up to Gloucester.
It's still a perfectly good services station. You're just not as good as Gloucester.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just hard to compete with that.
Second place is an achievement as well.
Yeah. But yeah, because when I was driving around a lot, especially when I was doing tours and stuff like that, I would quite often stop at a service station because I hadn't stopped there before.
Yeah. So when I was touring with bands as well, we kept a map and marked off all the services that we'd been to because we were just driving the roads so much, and it got to the point where you were like, we could go there, but we've been there before, and if we go an extra 40 minutes, we could hit that one instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did get to the point where we had that, and we had a map of curry houses of the UK.
Nice.
Based entirely on they were still open at 1 a.m. when we'd finished loading the trucks. That was kind of the minimum criteria.
Yeah.
And there was a map with reviews and everything. It was
yeah.
I was just going to ask if there were reviews on these things. Yeah.
There was.
That'll do.
Yeah, this is the thing. It was reviews from me and Rob at 1 a.m. in the morning, having just pulled a 20-hour day. So it's not,
Yeah.
The bar was low.
Criteria.
Food was hot and filling when.
And came quickly.
And I can expense it. Yeah. Fine.
But see, so when you were driving a lot, did you ever do the game of when you see a sign for the nearest service station, and it's always got next service is 1.5 miles, and then the one after that is 10 miles or 20 miles or whatever, and doing that and being I am busting for a piss, but I reckon I can make it another 15 miles. Yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna go for that, and doing that whole thing until you get to the point where you're oh God, I shouldn't have gone past that one. And
you can make it to the car park, but then you forget you've got the walk behind slow-moving people to get to the toilet as well.
Yeah, I've genuinely shouted at someone walking into a service station before because I need to pee so bad, and just being so slow, and it was just move. I mean, I'm sorry, I really need to pee. Just as I'm running past them, sort of thing. But yeah, I want to go back on the road now. I miss driving.
Fills with tools.
But there's the risk is now that you end up in the toilets and all the cubicles are in use and all the urinals are in use.
That's what hedges are for.
But then you got to head back out. Yeah.
I mean, there are sinks. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah.
And they are at the right height.
Depends how tall you are.
Well, it's the big the circular trough ones that they have in some of them, where it's got the taps are in the middle, and they're weird. They kind of remind me of the penny things that used to spin round and down.
The urinals are weird. The Dyson ones are really messy.
Such a dad joke. God. Fuck's sakes. So anyway, making. I think this is the other reason why I like having a topic is so that when we start going down bad tangents like this, I'm just going to bring that back.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, I've been to the men's shed, and it's interesting talking to some of the sort of the guys there. And it's I think one guy, lovely guy, trained as a carpenter, moved into painting and decorating, and that was his career. Yeah, guys, he's got to be in his 70s now. It's like he's never used a table saw until he came to the men's shed, or a bandsaw, and a few other tools. It's like when he was working as a carpenter, you only had hand saws. There weren't power saws. Especially he did a lot of roofing. So if you're trying to cut truss up on a roof, it's like you have a handsaw. You don't kind of go back down. Even if there were a skill saw, they didn't have battery ones. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And so it's all done by hand and judged by eye.
Yeah. Well, there's so that's one of the kind of blacksmith's mottos is by hand and by eye, because you wouldn't be measuring things to be exact. It would be like, that looks about right. Like, we do that. And you did it all by hand, even down to the cutting of the steel. You just heat it up and hot cut it rather than waste the time and effort and the expense on getting any kind of thing that would, it wouldn't be a bandsaw. It would be a hacksaw. And you'd have to cut it by hand, and it's a damn sight easier to hot cut a thick bit of steel than it is to sit there for fuck knows how long trying to hacksaw away at it.
Especially if you have to wait for it to cool down before you can even start anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Although not I would recommend anyone ever does this, but using belt sanders and angle grinders on very hot steel creates a lot more spark. It's very entertaining to watch. But again, do not recommend. I've never actually seen it in real life. Nobody I know is doing something like that.
I think there might be some visible evidence of this on a YouTube channel.
No, we wouldn't have put that on YouTube. I don't think. Have we?
If one looks,
you may have used it to generate some spark shots that maybe didn't show how you were generating the sparks, but
maybe. There is a photo somewhere of we did the when I was in the States, and I was with Chris and Matt, and we did the steak anvil at Matt Harris's studio because we were on a time limit there, and because we'd forge welded hot steel, we'd forge welded high carbon steel onto this wrought iron base. We needed to then sand it down to flatten it, and because it's high carbon, we couldn't just quench it to cool it off because that would harden it. So we had this bit of steel that was still red hot, and the guys there were using 144 inch belt sanders. So rather than a 2x72, it would be a 2x100. So it was this huge contraption. Yeah, big old beasties. And there's a photo somewhere of Chris and Matt both manhandling this steak anvil with a massive pair of tongs and putting it on the grinder, and the amount of sparks that are coming off it is phenomenal. So that's the only place that I've ever seen it. I've never done it myself.
I seem to remember seeing something similar to that, but with the back end of the belt being dipped in water to just keep it cool.
Ooh, I've not seen that before. That's quite cool.
So, ignorant question. You've got 2x72. The 2-inch wide makes a lot of sense to me in terms of you want enough space, whatever.
Yeah.
The 72, to an extent, seems irrelevant to me, and that's probably the woodworker in me speaking. Why does going to the 144? Is it that the belt is cooling down? Is it that it's clearing it? Is it what's that doing for you that a 72 isn't?
Several
other than
things.
Looking cool.
I mean, looking cool is obviously the most important. That's the only reason any of us ever become blacksmiths, is to look cool.
How's that going to you?
So badly. But yeah, so there's a few reasons, and I mean different people target different areas of that. So you've got firstly the fact that it's longer, so it stays cool for longer, so you don't overheat things quite as much. And that also means that the although obviously the friction from grinding will heat up the stock, if the belt is cooler, then it takes longer for
Steve, you've just gone. Yeah,
I think your audio keeps going a bit wibbly wobbly for.
Yeah, just gone underwater.
How is it?
Perfect.
Okay.
I think it's StreamYard doing StreamYard things.
Okay, cool. What was I saying? Yes. So for different people, it's going to be different things. So for the heat side of things, like although the friction on the knife or the sword or the axe or whatever will heat it up in itself, if the belt is cooler, then obviously it will pull the heat away a little bit, so it will cool it down. I say that looking at Andy, who obviously
makes from a physics point of view, it makes sense. If you're hitting something with a belt so you're braiding it, that obviously generates it's friction, that generates heat. If you're then that belt is still hot and comes around again quickly, then your temperature difference isn't so much. If you've got a bigger temperature difference, whenever a heat moves when there's a temperature difference.
Yeah, exactly.
There's less temperature difference, heat isn't going to move.
Yeah, and so the less often that the belt comes into contact with friction and therefore heat, the cooler the belt stays. So it draws heat away. There's also the fact that you, excuse me, a bigger belt will obviously grind more material for longer, because although the wear per inch is the same, if you've got many inches, then the wear per revolution is less, so you're going to get more. You're going to get more life out of a belt change. Longer. And changing belts less often is good. Yeah. But also, so with my little 1x30 grinder, I've not got a huge amount of space to be able to play with different. What's the fucking word? I would call it tooling. Yeah, the attachments and tooling. You can't put a really big contact wheel on a small grinder, and you might want a really large slack belt so you can go out with that, or you might want a really long platen or anything like that. And I mean, as Rasmus say, more inches equals more happy. Which is,
he would know.
Yes, exactly. Well, I mean, he wouldn't. But he's only tiny. That's what I was talking about. Height. Yeah. But yes, so yeah, there's a bunch of different reasons, and it's good. And I mean, if you've ever gone from using a very small, let's say my 1x30, I can do so much with it. But when you then go and use a 2x72 or even a 2x36, it's a big difference. And I highly recommend. I think to be fair, 2x72 is probably perfect for most people and most applications. Like those huge ones, the 144s. I think it's 144. They're really good if you're doing more kind of industrial sort of scale grinding. So if you're doing really big swords, or if you're doing architectural stuff and things like that, because again, mostly for that, it's mostly about not changing the belt that often, because each belt change obviously takes a certain amount of time. But
cool. Every day's a school day.
That's what I'm here for stuff. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, the whole sort of physics side of stuff and making it interesting. But that's because everything is physics at the end of the day. Everything is back to physics.
Yeah, physics is the science of everything.
Yeah.
From the tiniest subatomic to the entire universe.
Yeah,
and everything in between.
Science of all the bubbles in your drinks.
Yeah.
That's physics.
I can remember a mathematician saying that, because I was making this point that everything comes down to physics, and the mathematicians went, "Yeah, but physics is just spicy maths." And I was like,
"Yeah, maths is a tool. Maths is a tool that physicists use."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's kind of what I said. I was like, "No, it's not. Don't try and make maths cool. It's not cool."
Yeah, because you can explain a lot of physics without maths.
Yes, exactly. Yes. See, this is why I want a topic, because there was a pause there, and I want to host and be like, so.
Yeah, but you do realize that now, whenever we do that point of
it's to annoy me.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not jumping in with something else. We're just waiting to see you squirm.
Yeah, and that's what the fucking the idiots on my podcast do to me all the time. They'll do things specifically to annoy me. I know. Yeah, but it's not like we edit ours anyway.
We don't.
But yeah.
What do you mean you don't edit yours? So what is it? You said you came on the show and said I'm on here tonight, but I should be editing.
He's clearly not been.
Exactly, yeah.
And given the editing is usually the excuse for it being multiple weeks late. I mean,
shut up.
I don't think we're helping you, folks.
Being like, this is an intervention, Steve.
I've had so many of them, and Jamie's always at the forefront of it. But
that's usually because someone says we need to have an intervention with Steve. Could you organise it, please?
Who was it the other day? Someone from like real life, not from Maker Life, messaged me and asked me something, and then just went, "Should I just message Jamie and get a date sorted?" I was like, "What the fuck? How do you know about Jamie?" And the editing for Fools with Tools, it's cutting out the like bit at the beginning where we're trying to figure out what the fuck the topic's going to be, and like cutting out just a little clip of that for the cold open, then obviously put the music intro in, then cutting out the 3 false starts where I say hello and welcome and one of them fucks up. Although we do that much less now, because I don't know if you guys have noticed that now it's just like, I'm just going to keep this one and just carry on. And then going like skipping through until we go into spiffing, then cutting out the like 4 hours of one of us. Like, so like week 1, Brett and I will both have someone to spiff, and Al won't. Week 2, and Al doesn't take that long to find someone to spiff. He's pretty good at it. Week 2, it'll be like me and Al both have someone to spiff, and Brett doesn't. And he'll spend like 5 minutes just trying to find someone, and he'll be like, right, okay, yeah, I've got someone. And then week 3, it'll be me that doesn't have someone, and I'll be going, shit, okay, I'll quickly find someone. And then 4 hours later, I come back and go, wait, what was I supposed to be doing? And then we go
in the meantime, you sent me a handful of TikTok videos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just sat here on TikTok going like, what's supposed to be doing?
Oh, I did. Who are you two?
Yeah. Oh shit, yeah, we're recording. And then splicing all that together and putting it out and calling it a podcast. I really don't. The fact that we've done like nearly 250 episodes absolutely baffles me, because you'd think by now we'd actually know what we were doing, and we just don't. And whereas you guys have it like sorted. This is
we started by not knowing what we were doing, and that was our plan.
So because sorry, I just remembered as well. I'm supposed to be on 2/3 at some point.
Not tonight, I assume.
No. But Red messaged me, and I was like, I can't, because he said about doing it on Thursday. I was like, I can't. I've got hockey on Thursdays, and I was like, and he was like, okay, don't worry about it. Then I was like, no, but I can do other days. Please let me do another day. And he was like, no, that's it. You can't do that. I was like, oh, okay.
I love that man so much.
He's just the best. And do you know what? Like, I really don't want to say anything because I think Rasmus is still in the chat, but like, it's such a good podcast. Like the 3 of them, like, just have really good energy together. Like, it's one of those, like, when it's good, I'm like, I can't continue working because I'm giggling along, sort of thing. And they always have like really good points, and they're very considered about how they put things across and things like that. And it's really well done, and I am super glad that podcast is out there. I mean, fuck, he is in the chat, isn't he? I've just seen him. Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. Let's move on past that. So anyway,
I think he's in shock though. I think he's in shock.
Right. I've got a question for both the listeners and for the three of you, because one of you might know, why do hawthorn horns hurt so much more than every other kind of horn?
Tip breaks
horn.
off.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, there's a little tip breaks off, stays inside.
Oh yeah, that's what that mark is.
They're really sharp, and there's a nasty little tip that breaks off. Yeah.
And I stabbed myself so many times this weekend with hawthorns, and they're. But I have got now a bunch of hawthorn trunk bits, like branch bits, to make some kniff handles out of. Which I'm, yeah.
You know what you probably could do with, Steve? You could probably really do with one of those artist's axes that I've got.
No, because I took axe number 4 and I was going to put a post up about how, like, you know, axe number 4 is still going strong and all this. I left it in a fucking tree at this place because I hung it up in the tree because I was using it to snail down branches and like cut bits up to go on the bonfire, and then hung it up in the tree, and then we packed up and I left it in said tree, so it's now in an apple orchard. And I said to the guy who I was doing the work for, I was like, shit, because I didn't realize until I literally was just about to get out the car to get at home. I was like, shit, I've left my axe there. He was like, oh yeah, I'll pick it up next time I'm there. I was like, no, can you go back and get it?
Can you make a special visit, please?
Yeah, like, please. He's like, oh, it's got a cover on it, hasn't it? I was like, it's got a leather cover on it. That leather will die in the, like, if it rains. Like, you just. And he was like, oh, it's only an axe. I was like, it's the 4th axe I ever made. Like, I need it.
I made that one.
Yeah, like, this is special. So hopefully he's picked that up by now. But yeah, I fucking love that axe as well. I might have to make some more soon.
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah, well, things with
You're not allowed to talk about it yet.
I like literally 3 more days and then I can. But yeah, yeah. Hopefully, very soon I'll be able to talk about something that's very exciting.
So the thing with the thing that you with the thing and the thing and the people in the thing.
Yes,
and then the other
thing,
but
not the thing with the not the thing,
not that thing. The thing. The other,
no, the thing that's
that thing and not
this thing.
Right, okay.
Yeah, this thing, not that thing. This.
So
thing.
the other thing's in a few days as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I don't think the other thing. I'm not going to be able to. Well, it is in a few days. It's in like 2 weeks, but I don't think I'm going to be able to talk about that for.
Of course. Yeah.
Like shit. Like 18 months.
Yeah, maybe.
I'll have forgotten about it by the time I can talk about it.
You'd have forgotten about it by the time you finish doing it.
I'll have forgotten about it. Fuck. I was going to say, I'll have forgotten about it by the time I finish the sentence, and I couldn't even finish the sentence.
Forgot midway through.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll have forgotten about it before you're about to go and do it. I'll have to remind you.
Well, I've been meaning to ring the guy, one of the guys, the guy that I'm staying with. I've been meaning to ring him for the last 3 days, and I keep forgetting. But I'll remember whilst I'm doing something else where I can't phone him. Like shit,
do a podcast.
Yeah. Like shit, I'll make a note to phone him later, and then don't make the note, and I just
Jamie, make a note.
Shall I put it in the calendar now? Or...
Do you want to just make the phone call for him?
Please. Yeah,
I'll take secretary duties as well.
What we'll need to do, Steve, we'll need to just put remote access on your phone, so just any desk in, and then just set calls going.
Just be panicking, be like, "Oh, what's ringing? Fuck." Hi, person.
I'll just look. I'll go right. Okay, it's
call up. Please hold.
Yeah, it's like right. He's got his iTunes connected, and the music played. I'll just pause the music, make the phone call for him.
Oh my god, it's such a good idea. But also,
I'm going to just be reduced to an app at some point, though.
Like Chat GPT, but Chat JRP. What's your middle name?
M.
M.
Well, M isn't the middle name, but that's the initial. The initial.
Michelle.
Yes, let's go with Michelle.
Montacute. Jamie Montacute Reader. Perfect. What's the film where they? Oh no, that's in, to bring it back around to the beginning. Kipo. There's a bit in Kipo where
is this still your spiffing?
Yeah. See,
I'm beginning to understand why Fools with Tools needs edited.
So I've literally just realised as well that last time, I think it was last time I was on. Was it last time? Was that when we did the art versus craft thing?
I think you've been on since then.
Have I? Maybe. I know Ali's been on a couple of times since then, but I don't think I have. But anyway, so
since your last intervention.
Yeah. So last time it was like there was other people in the chat, but it essentially just ended up being me and Ali talking at each other. And I felt bad because like everyone else was just kind of there, like just quietly just waiting for their turn that never really came. Because I will just,
we can interrupt you, it's fine.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like I will just fill the quiet moments if there's quiet moments, and if I get rolling, then I just keep talking, and like, and I'm kind of doing this to you guys now. I feel like I've talked a lot for the last hour and a bit, and
an hour and a fuck, is that a specific time unit?
12 minutes, and that includes the time it took to eat the pizza.
You were in long lace-up boots as well.
There's a Red Dwarf reference.
I know.
Okay. I want to watch Red Dwarf now.
I saw some fantastic images the last couple of days. One of
me in lace-up boots.
No, they were the private images that you sent. Oh. But no, one of Lister stood at the food machine, because it's not a replicator in Red Dwarf, but asking for tea Earl Grey hot, and then one of
you said that.
Picard, one of Jean-Luc Picard stood at a Star Trek replicator just saying fish.
I've forgotten all about that one. That was brilliant. So
there's crossovers.
I'm just trying to find that post by a friend.
Oh, could you imagine that Star Trek Red Dwarf crossover?
Well, so do you know the whole story with it?
I was just about to say about that. Yeah, you go for that. I'm going to find this post.
Sure.
Okay, so Patrick Stewart, not long sort of settled into the role of Jean-Luc Picard as Star Trek Next Generation. Yeah. He's sat enjoying a nice quiet evening one time, and then suddenly gets this, what's this Red Dwarf thing on TV? Starts watching Red Dwarf, and he's like, holy shit, this is a complete, kind of piss take on Star Trek. What the hell's going on here? He's really irate. He's got his phone up. He's just about to call his agent, and then burst out laughing.
Yeah.
And just placed the phone back on the thing and carried on watching. And he literally just got to the point of he just fell in love with the series. Yeah. So they've done a couple of DVDs and things, and like there was like a Red Dwarf night basically where they did like what's called Can't Smeg Won't Smeg. So they actually had Ainsley Harriott doing the Can't Cook Won't Cook, but with the Red Dwarf characters in like full on. It was amazing. But Patrick Stewart then was the compo for the whole evening, and has done like loads of interviews with them, and he just completely fell in love with Red Dwarf because he originally thought it was a complete rip-off and piss take of Next Gen. So there's good chance that it could potentially happen.
A friend posted up a post the other day about the fact that it was like 25 years since Robot Wars had started. I can't remember however long ago it was, and basically there was a little bit of chat back and forth in the comments about Craig Charles, and one of my friends posted one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen on Facebook, and I'm just going to read it out to you now and try not to stumble on the words too much. So, as a child, Craig was there to teach me about Vindaloo and Smeg. As a teenager, Craig had me fully believing that nerds who dressed up as RC cars were warriors. In my early 20s, Craig accompanied my 4 a.m. drunken kebabs with heroic stories of Japanese people avoiding mud baths. By my late 20s, Craig played the soundtrack to my pre-gaming, and when I wanted to pretend that I was too cool for Radio 1. Craig Charles is the patron saint of goths, weirdos, nerd, oddballs on the alternative sesh.
Absolutely.
His name is how you know, is how you work out if someone is sound or not. Like, imagine someone doesn't know who he is or doesn't like him. Just walk away. At this point, we should probably just scrap St. George and get Craig instead as our patron saint.
Yeah, totally 100% on board with that.
And it was the reference to Takeshi's Castle that made me howl with laughter. I was like, I'd completely forgotten he voiced that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they were like 10 years behind as well on Takeshi's Castle.
Yeah.
And
Brilliant.
I enjoy the fact that he was unapologetically Craig Charles in all of those. It's not like he put on a different persona or character for the same bloke. Same all the way through.
Yeah. He is Lister. It's brilliant.
Yes. Yeah.
Because wasn't it like originally Chris Barry was going to play? No, who was going to play? Was it Chris Barry?
There was a rumor Chris Barry was supposed to be something in Red Dwarf. I don't know if it was listed, but yeah.
Oh no, I think he originally went for Crichton, maybe.
Maybe.
No, that would have been pre-Crichton.
Yeah,
I'm pretty certain he went for Lister originally and then didn't get it.
Yeah,
I think.
the episode where they all play each other, like Chris Barry's Lister impression is.
Well, I mean, he's a fantastic mimic.
Yeah. You remember him in the
British Empire?
Fuck yeah, that show was. I remember it being brilliant.
We rewatched some of it recently.
I bet recently.
Does it stand up to the test of time or not? Not really.
It's a little dated, but it is still funny as hell. I mean, it's still Chris Barry, you know.
Yeah. But I really want to do, like, part of the reason why I kind of want to do more props and miniatures and stuff like that is because I really want to do like a Red Dwarf diorama series. And I think the thing that I like about it is the fact that it is also grimy and dirty and like, again, like we were talking about, going back to what we were talking about earlier on, like the fact that they use, in fact, I think this might have been in the pre-show, but the fact that they were using practical props rather than trying to use computer graphics and stuff. Like that was what made it so great, and that was what made it so cool. And like the fact that the bazookoids or whatever they were called, like they just fired, like it was just out the, like a little bit of firework out the front, and that was it. Like that was so cool. The fact they didn't try and put in lasers and stuff, it was just. And
the fact the walls wobbled when they shut doors.
Oh yeah,
brilliant. Yeah.
Well, so the whole
happens a lot of TV. I mean, I can remember at university watching Neighbours, and that happened. Yeah, and you go back to Blake 7, that happened. And
it happens in a lot of modern houses as well.
Yeah. But there was a thing on. I think it might have been in Will Wheaton's autobiography, but the audiobook that I listened to, because so his autobiography he wrote when he was 25, I want to say, but then he revisited it when he turned 50, and basically rather than rewriting it or writing a new one, he went back and republished it, but just with a load of annotations. And he was like, I was being such a dick here, like I can't believe I did this, like I have grown as a person. I thought I was being edgy and cool. I was actually just being horrible. And like, it's the audiobook version is really fucking good, and I would highly recommend.
That's going to be the next credit use, because I love Will Wheaton,
and it's so good, and it's really kind of enlightening, and it's also really kind of reaffirming as well, because it kind of makes you realize, like, actually, I was a dickhead back then, but it's okay. As long as I've grown from there, then it's okay. But I think it was in there. One of the stories that he told was, I think it was Worf, or it was someone, but basically on the next gen thing, obviously the doors were manually controlled. There wasn't a little sensor. There was someone pushing a button or someone actually pulling the doors apart, and the person was not at their station or whatever. And yeah, they just full on just went, like, the actor just full on walked into the door because they were so used to it opening right at the last second. Yeah. And yeah, they just like face planted into this door, and we're not very happy about it, but apparently it was very funny.
So this has been a fun kind of, it's not even a look back, but I was introducing the youngling to I Am Weasel recently.
I Am Baboon.
Well, exactly. And do you know who?
Yes,
for Weasel.
Yes.
So it's Michael Dorn, who played Worf in Next Generation, does the voice for Weasel. So, of course, we were just watching this, and I'm like, do you recognize that voice? And there's a bit of a, I don't know. And then even with Jackie as well, you know, she's like, that's a really good voice. But we've been watching loads of Next Gen, so we've got Michael Dorn's voice kind of resonating in our heads anyway. And then that kind of sudden realization of like, Worf's Weasel.
Yeah. I am. But there's a bunch of people that have done like lots of things like that, like especially from our childhood. And I can't remember any of them right now.
Of course, because you're on the spot.
Yeah. And brain.
With it reminded me the other day with Pancake Day, with Danny John Jules being in Maid Marian.
Yeah.
Which was an amazing show from our childhood.
Right? I fucking love Maid Marian.
Yeah.
I just I
don't know. Death in Paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in Death in Paradise until season before last.
And he's such a cool dude. My dad's met him a few times at like BBC parties and things, and he's just, from all accounts, he's just so cool. You know, I mean, it's the same for all of them. They've all just sort of come across as being super chilled.
I just had to Google Death in Paradise because it's not something I recognize. Is this something that's come out fairly recently?
Oh, Death in Paradise has been going for like
for a while.
10, 12 years at least. It's
I've never even
had a fairly major
British
change at one point,
British
did they?
police detective on Caribbean island.
Huh. But then,
so it used to be Chris, what's his name, who was in My Family.
Yes. Yeah.
But then he's now doing a spin-off show that's due to come out soon that's like called Life After Paradise or something like that. That's due to come out soon. But they kept it going with
Paradise Miami.
I can't remember what it's called. It started yesterday. It's not yesterday, Friday night. It was on at 8 o'clock. Filmed in Cornwall, but set in Devon, which has possibly gone down well.
Oh, that's how to offend some people, isn't it?
Yeah.
You get the scone the wrong way up with the jam and the cream if you do that. Continuity errors all over the place.
So one of the
if you were doing the continuity on that, you would have to keep swapping it.
Yeah.
Just half and half. One way up, one the other up. Yeah.
See, I don't know why that's ever a problem. Because if you put jam on one half, cream on the other half, stick them together.
No.
Oh,
so there is a very particular reason.
Two Welsh cakes.
No. There is a very particular reason why doing that is wrong, and that's because you only get half the possible amount of cream.
Good point.
And let's be honest, the only reason that we have scones, whatever you want to call them, is a transfer for it's a vehicle for clotted cream. That's all it is. And in terms of,
it's the same reason why celery is only used as a delivery method for hummus.
Yeah. Or just ignore the hummus.
Wrong.
Just use oatcakes.
It's just wrong.
But like I upset quite a lot of people when they ask, like, oh, is it cream first or jam first? And I mean, Al's answer I love, which is it's butter first, which makes sense.
Correct.
If you're into that sort of thing, I personally don't put butter on them, but I always just say, like, whichever's closest. Like, I don't care I just want to cover it in clotted cream. That's it. Yeah. I fucking want a scone now.
I'd like some clotted cream now.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think what I've got in the fridge, and I know there's a pot of double cream in the fridge that's been there for how long ago was Christmas?
That looks
maybe clotted by now. Yeah.
It's certainly going to be thick. I should really get rid of that. The trouble is it's one of those where I don't want to put it in the bin like too long before bin day because it's going to stink.
Spills.
And so I'm like, right, I'll remember to do that when I take the bins out the day before bin day. I don't remember that. Especially seeing as our bins only collected once every 3 weeks. What I should do, so the black bags get, the recycling gets collected every week. The black bags once every 3 weeks, which actually works like, since living on my own, I only produce like 1 bag of rubbish every 3 weeks. So, like what I should be doing with the cream is opening it, throwing out the cheese that's now in it, putting it in the recycling and getting rid of said cheesy lump. But I don't want to open it. I just want to put the whole thing in the bin.
4 steps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, I don't mind the extra steps. It's just the dealing with the smell. It's like if you ever have a protein shaker and you don't clean it out, there's a certain point where you don't open it. You just throw that away and pray that nobody ever finds it. Because I remember I left one in a bar once, and it was like under the actual bar on top of one of the fridges, so there was all the warm air constantly over it. I went in, one of the bar staff was like, "Oh, Steve, you left your shaker here last week." I was like, "Yeah, do not open it, just throw it away." And he went, "Why?" I was like, "Because it will stink." And he went, "Nah, it won't be that bad," and then cracked it open, and I shit you not, the entire bar emptied. It was horrible.
I've made the mistake as well.
Yeah,
it's not fun.
Do not suggest that. But
the trick is to just wait long enough that the contents completely just consumes itself and becomes inert again. So you can do the same thing with the clotted cream. Once the bacteria's gone through. I mean, you'd have to leave it for another year or two.
Yeah.
Are we working out the half-life of protein powder here?
Yeah. I think that's what we're about to try.
It's more the consumption rate of the bacteria inside for it to consume all edible matter in there and become just purely waste
but if
product.
the conditions are just right, it'll just turn into its own little ecosystem.
Yeah.
At some point, it becomes a pet.
Like the thing in the freezer in
Lister was growing for.
No, the freezer in Love, Death and Robots episode, where a little civilization formed in the freezer. And I got very excited about that because I really like that episode of the show. Do you reckon with like boiled linseed oil and with like oil finishes and stuff, like if they dry out, they become kind of gelatinous? Do you think you could make like a bar of BLO by just leaving a bottle with the lid off for a year or something?
Theoretically, I mean, are you thinking to be able to apply it as a slightly gelatinous finish?
Yeah, because it just basically be like a wax, then you just rub it in with that action.
You can just add gelatin and turn it into like a jelly type.
No, because I'd eat it.
Yeah, you would. Maybe don't put it in the standard.
No idea what BLO does to your insides, but it's probably not worth finding out.
No. I know that
linseed oil is used as a laxative, isn't it? So,
well, I was going to say, if memory serves, there's something in your gut that if you consume enough of some oils, it will turn them into a surfactant. So you basically,
a similar one.
You basically poo out soap.
Yeah, I know. White spirit will make you eject from both ends very rapidly. But
an anecdote you wish to share there, or
I
know the anecdote.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I personally have never done it. I have worked with people that may have.
That's why you label your glasses, and every artist knows the same struggle.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the paint part. The brush water.
I used to have some friends that would use particularly Dr. Pepper bottles, because they had quite a wide like lid on them, or like opening. They would preference Dr. Pepper bottles in use of certain methods of smoking certain substances. And after a few uses, said water in these bottles would become a similar color to the original contents. And on more than one occasion, I have seen people mistakenly pick that up. And it never ends well. And bad times. Anyway,
talking of time, do you want to move? Because we know you've got a bit, Steve. Yeah.
Yes, because I will keep.
He spent the last hour and a quarter doing his spiffing.
Who did I spiff?
So should we get on to the topic now?
Yeah.
No, it's introductions next, Andy.
Yeah, we don't introduce anyone.
Yeah, we do that at the end.
I think this is the thing, right? This is why I don't like. I love coming on here, and I love all three of you actually, but I need structure, because otherwise I just we
collectively, the three of us, need humor.
So I'm just the comic relief. I'm just here for you to laugh at. Great.
You're here for the experiment.
With.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a with rather than at.
Yeah, whatever.
Or often it's also.
Yeah, but I'm laughing at myself. That's the problem. And you're just joining in.
No, we're just agreeing with you.
It's the same thing.
So apart from the things you've already told us, Steve, got anything else that's grabbed your attention this week?
Maybe. Why don't we check with someone else first?
Neil, what's been grabbing your attention today?
I have ambitious plans for this year that I have no idea how I'm going to deliver, but it involves purchasing a Land Rover.
Yes,
and turning it
into
a
working one,
hamper-related item.
Hamper-related item.
Camper.
Oh, I think you said a hamper.
Yeah, just a big basket. That's all I'm going to do. Just fill it.
Just two handles.
Delicious treats.
Leather straps.
A Land Rover full of deli meats.
I mean, that sounds like a dream for me. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and I'm pretty certain you could patch a Land Rover up with some sort of woven
tartan
wicker or something.
Yeah. Most of them
wicker and tartan.
But yeah, so I have this ambition that I wish to buy a Land Rover and turn it into a camper and go explore some of Scotland and maybe do some other trips with it and things like that as well. So I've kind of fallen down the rabbit hole this week of other people who've done it and found a Facebook group called Camper Vans Built for Under $2,500, which is really interesting. It kind of links back to what we were saying at the beginning about having constraints and stuff, because the reality is this is entirely vanity project, budget thing. It's not like there's no way this earns me any money, so it's going to cost not very much money.
Yeah.
But I have been... There's a guy who runs a YouTube channel called Boris the Defender.
Yes.
His Defender is called Boris.
Yes, and it's so good.
And his... I don't know if you've seen the second build. He rebuilt the inside. So he did an original build. He's just done a new one.
Oh, I've not seen
and it's really nice, to the point where he got featured on the front cover of Land Rover Owner with it. But it's really nice build out. So I've been watching that. And then there's a channel called Roaming Reckless. Basically, I've spent the week looking at other people's converted Land Rovers going... What can I sell? How many kidneys do I actually need? What can I do to make that happen? But that's, it's the kind of how do you do it on a budget and how do you make it?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because there's people spending like 70. I mean, we've got a Land Rover workshop down the road here called Engine 710, and they make some beautiful stuff. But you could spend 6 figures on one of their Land Rovers.
That's a brilliant name.
and I'm just like, I will never be able to do that. This is going to be a $5,000 Land Rover with a $1,000 conversion. That's going to be kind of the, and I still don't quite know how I'm doing that. So yeah,
I hate to tell you this, but if you're buying a $5,000 Land Rover, be prepared to spend $2,000 on the first MOT.
Yes, except I'm not buying a Defender. We could go off on a long tangent on this. Discovery 3 is the base.
I mean,
there's reasons. The main reason being, I'm 6'4".
Yeah.
The distance between the back of the passenger seat and the closed door is 3 centimeters longer than me in a Discovery 3. In a Defender, it's at least 12 shorter than me. So
that must only
unless
be...
I go 130.
But yeah, what, even in a 110?
A 110 bulkhead to the back door is only like 6 foot. You're going to measure this and tell me I'm wrong. If you tell me I'm wrong, you're going to change all my plans and ruin my finances. But
100%. 100%. I can lie down in the back of my Land Rover. Like if I was to take the seats out, because spoiler alert, that's what I'm going to be doing this summer.
Cool.
Yeah, and I can lie down in the Land Rover with...
Okay, at some point, a measurement from the back of the... of that back would be useful, because from what I was able to find, it's too short. Anyway,
I'm so
that's the rabbit hole I've been doing that this week.
Just get an old Land Rover Ramblers.
Yeah.
You're laughing.
It's the word "just" that comes with a 15 to 20 grand price tag. That's the issue there.
Andy and I do know someone who's just recently bought an ambulance and is turning the ambulance into a camper van, but like a proper transit van ambulance.
Project Amber is really good for watching for that. He turned an ambulance into a camper van, and he's been all over the place with it. He's done an engine swap with it because the engine blew up. But
I've looked at buying an old ambulance a few times for the exact same reason, because I am very, very close to doing that myself, to buying a van of some description, turning it into something that's livable, and just renting this place out and going. The only thing that's really stopped me from doing it is Murph, because he can't live in a van now. Like, he's too old, bless him. And I'm not going to just leave him. So but weirdly enough, like I've been reinvigorated with my life and just motivation again, and I'm going to be putting the Land Rover back together. Like, there's a few bits left. Like I need to test the headlights, and I picked the battery up because the battery's been over at my parents' place for the last few months, because Dad was using it for, I don't know what he was using it for. He just went, "Can I borrow the Land Rover battery?" And I said yes. And I probably should. But I've got that back now. So I just need to test that all the lights actually work, other than the ones I know don't work. So get them sorted, get the ones that I know are broke. I'm ordering replacements for them as soon as I actually remember, whilst I'm near a computer. I remember a lot. I'm normally driving at the time. But yes, I'm going to order those.
The voice notes to prove that.
Yes. And the plan is basically to rip out the back seats, lay some stuff down, and have that as something that I can sleep in when needed. Originally I wanted to do like a proper full, like, get like all the little intricate bits in and do all this, and I had this really like overly complicated plan for doing it, and I realized that was one of the things that was stopping me from just doing it, was the fact that I was overly complicating it. And that's happened with a few things recently, where I've just gone, I need to just MVP, minimum viable product, and just get the shit done. And then if I want to go back and edit it, I can.
KISS principle. That's what we do with the show.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so like I'm very much with you on that, and I hopefully maybe one day we could, just because you're right up there and I'm right down here. We can meet somewhere in the middle and both sleep in our separate Land Rover camper things. That'd be lovely.
Yeah, sounds delightful.
That'd be a roundabout my house, I think.
Yeah, it would. No, it'd be further north because that's the thing. I always think of like
you're still very close to London.
No. Oh, James.
Yeah. Yeah, like James very close to London for me.
I'm here. Neil's here. You're like there. Like it'd closer. It'd probably be closer to
somewhere Lake District.
It's gonna be Al's, isn't it?
Jim's. We can go to Jim's. Because he's got a Land Rover as well, and we can all.
There you go.
Land Rover
there
together.
You go. So you two could try and get your Land Rover at Jim's, and then fix them at Jim's.
Yeah, we could get them to Jim's, and then Jim can fix them.
So we'll get the AA to tow them to Jim's.
Perfect.
Yes. I've broken down. Where do you live? Oh, yeah, somewhere in just north of the Midlands.
This allows for the best Land Rover based joke ever, which I will apologise for, but I am a dad, so I'm allowed to. Thanks. Which is the whole 80% of old Land Rovers are still on the road, the other 20% made it to their destination.
I've heard that one so many times. Yes, I don't have a segue into this. It's not a spiff. What do you guys call it? It's not a focus. Tension grabber. A spiff. Tension grabber. That's the one. So, because like I said, I've been trying to get back into. I'm going to start that again because I haven't mentioned this because this is one of the things that I said. Oh, I can't talk about that because we can't talk about it yet. But I have a friend who I'm sure some of you listening will know who that friend is, who is starting up their own business very soon. It launches next week when I will be sharing full details. And I was asked very kindly to take some photos, having pointed out the fact that my camera barely works anymore. But I was like, it's fine. Yeah, I'll come down. I'll do what I can with what I've got. And we'll go from there. And one of his other friends that was also there helping out had a camera of a similar sort of spec-ish, but it was a bit newer, a bit nicer, and took literally, I think the entire day took 3 photos, and that was all in the first half an hour. And took these photos and just kind of showed them to me. I was like, Steve, it's all kind of washed out. And, what can I do here? And I was like, well, you got to adjust the thing with the. You know what? Just bear me one sec. Let me just set up my camera because I've got to remember where everything is and all of that, and then I can show you. So obviously, I then had to take all the photos for the rest of the day because he was just like, "Yeah, you're taking the photos now, you sucker." And it was just that thing of just going in and just remembering, like, "Oh yeah, I can do this," and then actually remembering, like, I do actually know how to use a camera more than I thought I did. And because of that, like, we ended up taking some really nice photos that I'm, especially considering the stuff we were using and how disorganized and kind of ad hoc the whole shoot was. I'm genuinely quite proud of how some of them came out. And that's one of the other things that I'm supposed to do, rather than talking to you guys, is editing these photos. And so because of part of that, I've been kind of in my head getting back into photography again. I say that like I'm not always thinking about photography. I obviously am, but some of the guys that I really like, and we've talked about it in on the other podcast a few times before, like Grainy Days, which is a film photographer who's really, really good. But one of the things that I enjoy is people that take photos of specific things. And there's a guy which I did spiff late last year called Victor Matcha, which is VIKTOR, then MA with a little hat thing, CHA. I don't know, the little accent, not the triangle hat, the little just. But yeah, Victor Matcha. He is a photographer that works specifically with taking photos of steel mills. Like he's basically, his mission is to document steel mills before they stop existing, sort of thing.
Coffee shop.
Yeah, exactly. And the photography that or the photos that he takes, like, are they're just beautiful. It's like, I mean, working with hot metal is always really nice to take photos of, because just from an aesthetic point of view, you've got something that's glowing red hot, that's a real attention grabber. See, I linked it. But everything around it is generally grimy and covered in rust and soot and grime and stuff. So you've got that really nice contrast. And yeah, just some of the photos on there are just incredible, and they are quite literally awesome in the fact that they do inspire awe, because you look at this and just think, like, that's like a piece of steel that is like the size of this room. It's glowing red hot, and there's a guy stood next to it holding a broom, like brushing off scale, wearing full fucking heat armor. And yeah, it's just it's beautiful, incredible stuff. And they're the kind of photos that you look at and you think that this is some kind of post-apocalyptic film set, and no, it's just a steel mill, and this is how people live their lives and earn their money. And yeah, it's really cool. So Victor Matcha is my...
You said that is spiffing.
No, I wouldn't say that's spiffing, because this is a different podcast. I wouldn't even say that I've been focused on him. I would say that he has been grabbing my attention over the last few days. Shut up.
Jimmy, what about you? What's been going your attention?
I've been really, really, like, ridiculously busy the last week or so. I sort of got that same spur of motivation, so I've been kind of prepping, doing designs for a bench for Maker Central stuff that I was going to try and build it this weekend, but didn't get around to it. I was making space for the place for it to go, so I could build it. But loads of like tidying and organizing and sorting, and finally finishing off a bit more networking stuff, breaking my network and lots of that kind of stuff. But also managed to drag my old gym buddy back to me, or into my new gym as well.
Yay!
I'm very much can't straighten my arms properly tonight because we did a good session.
Is that so? You're actually, rather than training at home with your home gym, is this an actual gym that you're going to?
Yeah, I've been at proper gym, at the gym
nice.
For a while now, a couple of months.
Sweet. That's a gym as in gymnasium, not gym as in fixes Land Rovers.
Yeah, not wave cycles as in gymnasium.
Although weirdly, I'm taking Jimmy, not Jim, and not Jimmy as in Jimmy, but Jimmy as in my Jimmy, to the gym, and the hilarity ensues every single time, and it's good fun.
Cool. I mean, rightly so.
Yeah.
But so this is the thing. So my old training buddy from a couple of years ago, when we used to train when we were in the office pre-malware, he was training in my home outside gym for a bit with me, and then just got bored, and then
that guy, yes,
that guy, my South African friend,
yeah. So
I said to him the other day, I was like, screw it, we're going at the weekend, I'm going to drag you to my gym. And he went, nice. Oh, okay. Yeah. So then we hit it quite hard, and then I'm trying to convince him that he needs to switch gyms because he's paying for a gym that he's not going to.
Yeah.
But the gym that I go to is slightly more expensive, but I would be able to drag him there.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is it's better to spend more money on something you're actually doing than less money on something you're not going to do. Exactly. That's why I don't like pure gym, because like you're not encouraged to actually go there because of so many reasons.
It's why I picked an expensive gym, because I feel guilty for not going now.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And my gym, they are really, really good in the fact that if you haven't been for a while, they'll send you, like motivational emails, like, is there anything we can do to entice you back in? And then they'll start sending you WhatsApps and just go, is everything okay, Jamie? We haven't seen you for a while. Do you need anything? Can we do anything?
Yeah.
Are you all right?
Back to Duolingo.
Yeah.
You've not turned up. What are you doing?
It's the real people at the other end of it, though, as well. Not just like the notification you can dismiss. It's like, okay, I'll be in tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be fair, that's very similar to how I got Jimmy coming to the, because he's been saying about joining the, and it was one of those where he made the comment of like, oh yeah, but I kind of want to get a little bit more in shape before I go to the gym. And I was like,
no, the point of
this thing.
Yeah. But like I hear that comment so many times. And one day I just messaged him and was like, because he stays here during the week, and I was like, bring your gym kit with you. And so we did, and then we went down, and yeah, he absolutely loves it now. Although Friday we went to the gym together, and I tried a new pre-workout, and it was very, very bad. And I didn't sleep that night, and I nearly passed out after the leg press. And
yeah, no,
yeah.
Context for the audience. It's not the pre-workout that made you nearly pass out of the leg press. It was the fact that you were a very silly boy on the leg press.
No. So I have been thinking about this, and I genuinely think that yes, if I had done what I did. Did we do? Oh,
when did you last push that amount?
A year ago? Yeah, about a year ago.
So a year ago, you pushed 500 kilos on the leg press.
Yes.
And then out of nowhere, you went this week and did another 500 kilos on the leg press that you haven't done for a year.
Yeah.
And you're blaming the pre-workout.
Yeah, let's give this proper context. So I occasionally will go in and just and go on and do like maintenance sessions on the leg press, and I will quite comfortably go on and do 400 kilos for reps. I did my session. This was the last exercise we were doing, and I did 450 for 10. I felt strong and was like, you know what? I'm going to put another 2 plates on just for the lols and do that, like literally just 1 rep, although it ended up being 2, of 500, just because it was that thing of like, I feel like I can do it today. I'm going to push it whilst I can. So it's not like I just went up and just like was like, oh, I'm going to put 50 kilos on and do 10 reps and fuck it, I'll put 500 on. Like, that's not how it went down. Like, it was, the strength was there. That was fine. It was a combination of high exertion and a pre-workout that did not agree with me at all. And
for context for our American listeners, that's over £1,000.
No, the pre was like 250.
No, but the 500 kilos.
Sorry, I had to make that joke. I couldn't help it. But yes, anyway, Andy, what about you? What's been grabbing your attention?
I have spent far too long this week looking at lathes, wood turning lathes.
Good, as you should.
Yeah. I'm hanging on to the edge of the rabbit hole by one hand. How's the carpal tunnel in the other? I'm looking at lathes all week.
As much as I want to give stick to the woodworkers, especially the wood turners, like, it's such a fucking cool thing to do. And like doing it is so incredibly satisfying.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of the reason that people get not like a lot of the reason why people give wood turners gyp is because of the fact that, like, a lot of, and I'm not naming names or anything like that, but a lot of wood turning videos are the same.
Yes.
And it's just not, it's not exciting.
So yeah.
I thought you were going to the everything is if you're brave enough kind of.
No, I wasn't going to go there. But and I do think that there is this kind of tendency to go like, oh, I'm just going to make another bowl, but I'm going to do it in an exciting way by putting some resin in it or whatever. And like, there's so much more you can do with a lathe. And like, I find it incredibly satisfying to use, just not so much to watch.
TF Turning's worth a watch every now and again.
Yeah.
Tim, go back to one of his. He had a few years ago, he had a friend of his is a professional videographer, and put together, I think it was a 6-minute video And Tim's video is never very long anyway.
Yeah.
And it was just this 6-minute video with lots of cuts and transitions, different angles. Tim's a musician, does his own music.
Nice.
And it's the best video on YouTube of turning, I think. I'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah, I did see another really good one in the last week, actually. There's a guy making some darning mushrooms.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that.
And that was I did really enjoy that video. So I don't tend to watch
I'll take
videos,
that.
but...
Yeah, I mean, honestly, as a wood turner, trying to work out how to make videos interesting is a challenge.
Yeah.
I'll be completely honest with that, because it's like
I think the voiceover with that, just because you were talking about the process, you were talking about why, and that just made it really watchable.
But I was sat there. That was the second voiceover I did. The first one was very much, and then I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this, and I was like, right, I'm bored listening to this, and it's me. So, like, this doesn't work. But yeah, it's one of those where if all you're going to talk about is how you sharpened your skew chisel, that's nice. But yeah.
It's a funny thing. Like, I think with stuff like that, like trying to make it interesting, like you say, you have to kind of be kind of brutal with yourself, and like you say, go, I'm bored, and this is me. Like, somebody that doesn't even know me is not going to want to watch this. That's why I don't put up videos on YouTube anymore, because it's just...
the thing is, some people do like watching. They'll put a 20-minute, 30-minute turning video on that's just got music, not even a voiceover, and they'll watch it and they like it. And I mean, that's the beauty of YouTube, because you can have those things that satisfy different people. But
I think sorry, I was just gonna say, I think you're right. You can have one where it's like just a static camera, and it's almost like the Norway train one, where it's not necessarily background, but it's just kind of that therapeutic kind of chilled out, like, I'm just gonna watch this thing happen. Whereas if you're trying to make a short, poppy, enjoyable, like quick video, like your standard kind of 6 to 10 minute video, and you're trying to make that interesting, then that's definitely a struggle. And I think that's where, like you say, that the interesting voiceover and stuff like that really does come in. But yeah,
I think that's why some of the sort of, certainly the British, there's a few Americans as well, but quite a few of the British sort of turners on YouTube tend to do those kind of, they do it live, they have some people alongside earwomen, and it turns into a conversation.
Yeah.
So the turners, they're turning, and then there's a couple of people almost having a waffle a bit like we do, and kind of it's I'm responding to the people in the chat.
I think one of my other gripes, although I could get on a soapbox about this, is the number of wood turners doing videos where they never get anything wrong, and there's never a problem to solve, and there's never a challenge or I'm trying to work out how to do this. It's just, you do it like this. Is part of what makes it difficult to relate to as well. Yeah, because it's like, all right, I'm just watching you do something. Fine. Yeah, okay.
It's almost like the Blue Peter, like, here's what I made earlier, and of course it's perfect.
Yeah. And what you're not mentioning is you sanded that for an hour and a half to get it that
smooth. Great British Bake Off, where this kind of like, we're going to get the contestants to make scones, and then there's this perfect set of scones, and full well it's been made by the series Home Economist, rather than Paul Hollywood. It's just like,
which, weirdly enough, so one of the videos that I made that never saw the light of day, I might see if I've still got that, maybe put it somewhere, but that was the person that we had on camera had a career being behind the camera, being home ec on a bunch of shows, including Bake Off. Cool. I haven't seen Pooch in ages. I miss Pooch. So it was quite nice being able to put them in front of the camera rather than behind it. That was all. I'm really hungry again now.
Well, that's probably a good point for us to do kind of the introductions.
I was going to say, And then do we introduce the topic?
Yeah.
Yes, please. I don't want to go off.
I want a topic. I want the topic.
No, for the topic, what we're going to do is react to the I Jessup episode in real time.
I'd literally not even be finished by the time I went to work.
No, so literally, I got on a train in Edinburgh, listened to that entire episode, and I hadn't finished it by the time I got off the train in London.
You changed countries.
Yeah,
some kind of record.
We're working. I think we have more listening time than some podcasts that have been going for longer than us.
Mm.
Yeah, that's just one person listening to it.
Yeah.
Enough about where can people find you, Steve?
Me? You can find me in all of the usual social media places at Moonshine Metalworks.
Was that really difficult to not say all of the others?
So difficult. If you want to hear me ramble in a slightly more
it's not focused, more coherent,
structured manner, because we've got like set timings and stuff. But I say set timings. We've got like an idea of when we should really do bits. But yeah, if you want to hear me on my podcast, it is Fools with Tools, which is fine. It's all right. I mean, it's inspired some great podcasts,
and this one.
Yes, that's what I was including this in the great podcasts. But yeah,
it's the originator of the Fools with Tools podcasting universe.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am mostly on Instagram. I have a couple of YouTube channels. One of which is still mine. The other which has the better work on it and is no longer mine. But there may be some interesting stuff happening on mine in months time.
At least 3 days.
Maybe 3 months.
Just time.
Yeah, there's going to be some very cool stuff happening in the next year. Let's just leave it at next year. That might have to include a bit of a rebrand, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I love the fact that you looked then, Jamie, like, oh, fuck, here we go. Don't worry, it's all sorted. It's fine.
It was just that I'll make some space in the calendar.
But yeah. So I am, Moonshine Metalworks or Fools with Tools. That's me.
Neil, what about you?
I am NMB Woodworks in most places. The YouTube channel has had a resurrection after 18 months of not having done anything. I've achieved the sum total of 2 videos so far this year, which
they are good
leaping
videos.
With joy at. And yeah, I'm on Instagram, and yeah, that's probably the best places.
Quick question: Does the M is the M the same M for Jamie? Are you both Montagues?
I've
yes,
no.
I know.
Yeah. For purposes of this,
yes.
It's Merryweather, Steve. It's Merryweather, same as the fire engines.
Oh, yes.
And there's rumor it's something to do with kind of your consummation, but just rumor. I think on that note,
click the button.
We'll see you now, folks. We'll see you next week. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
It's been great chatting. Thank you for jumping in. And, hopefully group chat next week. Another group chat, because we've had a group chat tonight. But group chat, bigger group chat.
Planned group chat.
Hopefully. That's the plan. Whether the plan comes to fruition is another matter. But have a good week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.